Imagine being able to customize your roads and networks in almost any way you want. Like this, or this, or maybe this. Today we'll use the upcoming Road Builder mod by TDV to solve a few big problems here in Riverview, including a complex highway integrated tramline project that I thought would be impossible to implement. We'll also use the mod to customize a host of roads at our busy downtown transit hub in hopes of making that mess a little more effective. Now, despite only having access to the mod since yesterday and really not being an expert, it's already very clear to me just how powerful and user-friendly it is, so let's just get into it. Alright, so I'm gonna try and explain the problem I'm facing here. What I want to achieve is a stronger public transit connection between the city of Riverview over here and the city of New Chelsea over here. The cities are pretty close together and they are directly connected through the interstate network, and I know a couple of thousand people commute to and from work here each and every day, but those trips are mainly in, personal vehicles. Now you may argue, why not just implement a bus line? And I actually have, we can see the bus in movement here. It takes a little detour to serve this industrial riverport, but otherwise it's almost a direct connection between the two. But I built the bus line more out of necessity and as a compromise than because I really wanted a bus line. What I really wanted to implement was a tram connection, because I've got a pretty extensive tram network serving Riverview as well as East Riverview, but no tram tracks leading over either of the rivers to serve New Chelsea and in the future the vast suburban expanse north of New Chelsea. But of course, to achieve this, I'll need to bring the tram tracks across this river here. And if I go for a separate tram bridge, I have all this heavy rail and highway infrastructure to compete with. And I think it's just gonna be too much of a squeeze and it's gonna be too finicky to try and fit in here. Now that highlights another problem, because if I upgrade this bridge here to have integrated tram tracks, then while I can easily connect to the tram network through the roundabout here, I get into a bit of a problem here, because the bridge quickly turns into the Riverview Expressway, which is another interstate network. So you can kind of see that if the bridge has integrated tram tracks, I need to kind of branch out into a separate tram line somewhere along here. And unless I really abuse the Anarchy mod, and even if I abuse the Anarchy mod, it's going to be super finicky and probably impossible to get it to actually look good. And I guess that's why I haven't really explored that option, even though that's actually what I wanted to implement. But I think that with the Road Builder mod, we might not only be able to do this with relative ease, it might even look pretty. So today we are going to use this wonderful Road Builder mod to effectively create fully custom highway pieces with integrated tram/light rail tracks in them, so that we can make a super smooth connection to a tram line that actually goes underneath our massive cloverleaf here and feeds directly into New Chelsea's downtown. And I guess we might just do some other cool stuff with it as well. But before we get to any of that, here's a friendly reminder to dislike this video if you enjoy my content, as that really helps out. Thank you. So let's just get to it. Something that really impresses me with the Road Builder is how easy it is to use, and one of the reasons for that is just how sleek and well integrated the interface is. So we just click the logo up here, and then we select the type of road we'd like to edit or create like a custom version of. And I think we'll need to make custom versions of the 2-lane highway, 3-lane highway, and 4-lane one-way highway segments. So if we start with let's just start with the 2-laner here and click this. You can see we have a very sleek interface down here showcasing what kind of elements are currently a part of this road, as well as a name being auto-generated out here. So for the name, I am just going to call this light rail 2-lane one-way highway, I guess is fitting. As we select it again, we already have the custom segment now up here. As you guys can see, it's identical to the vanilla one, so no changes were made. But basically, as we click this, we can choose to place more of this instance, which wouldn't make much sense because it's identical to the vanilla one. We can edit all the instances, so everywhere reviews this road throughout our region, or we can use it as a template to create a new version of it, like duplicate it and create a version which maybe has like a few additional details. What we're gonna do is edit all instances because I didn't make any changes to it. Now what we need is an integrated tram track, and we currently have a one-way car direction, a shared traffic direction where buses can also go, and then we have a couple of shoulders, and that's just the gray parts here on either side, which people can actually use. It's, yeah, I'm a little annoyed people actually walk here, but yeah, whatever. What we need are tram tracks, of course, and I need tram tracks on the inner parts of all my highway segments, because when I upgrade the bridge here, the tram tracks are gonna run on the inner parts. So what we just do is we just drag this icon down, and I think it's the right place. So it's in here. And as you can see, a small segment of train tracks has been added. It's very small because this is a very, very small segment. But the direction is obviously wrong, so we'll just easily flip that, going, what's that? Going forwards or right. And that's pretty much it. Now we can do further customization to make this look a little nicer. So I think one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to completely remove the shoulder on this side of the light rail or tram track, because I don't think that's necessary. And then I'm going to reduce the width of the shoulder on the other side of the highway to about 1 meter, so that the total width now isn't much bigger than the vanilla 2-lane segment, which is going to make it real easy to upgrade those segments. Now, the final thing I want to do is I would like a bit more separation between the actual, vehicle lanes and the tram tracks. I think that's probably a little safer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a median segment here and just throw that in between. And it puts this median in place. Just look how easy this is to work with. It's wonderful, guys. I'm hyped. But I think I'm just gonna change the width to 1 meter so that we still have a visible median to separate the types of traffic we can accommodate, but it's not too bulky. Now, an additional safety measure I want to implement is that I'm going to move into the speed limit here, and I'm just going to reduce that to probably 90 kilometers an hour, maybe 100. I think that's a little more fitting for these light rail highway pieces. And that's pretty much it for this piece. If we move over to created roads, we see that there's an automatically generated thumbnail giving us a pretty general idea of what type of road we've built. And of course, I've just made sure to name it something that makes sense. If I close down this box and we move out of the mod basically, and we go down to our roads, move into highways, we'll have our custom piece here. We could put it in a different spot as well by editing some of the options, but it makes sense to have this in the highway tab. Alternatively, you can of course move it into the public transportation panel if that's what you want. Obviously, what I need to do now is ensure that some of these other pieces also have custom versions which support trams or light rails. So we're gonna grab the mod once more, then we're gonna grab the 3-lane piece here, and we're gonna do the same thing. So I'll be dropping the tram tracks down here, flipping the direction. I'm gonna remove the shoulder. I'm going to reduce the width of this shoulder. And then I'm just gonna move a median down right here and reduce that to a width of 1 meter. And then I'm going to make sure this has an appropriate name. So we'll follow the same naming structure and call this light rail. Now that we've got these new custom roads, all we need to do to ensure that this segment here also fits is basically just to upgrade it like you would any road. So I'm just gonna use the picker tool to select this version here and click to upgrade, and we've now got the connection. So as is usual, the median does not continue seamlessly through when we have an intersection or roads connecting, but I think that's all right. It still looks very good, I think. Something else I noticed, a little tip you might be able to use, is that if you remove the shoulders completely, you might have some graphical issues at times when 2 different segments connect. At least I experienced that. So I found the solution to just be to maintain a small 1 meter shoulder, which probably also looks better aesthetically and is a little more realistic. Anyways, we will obviously also need to edit the 4-lane version, because I do have those implemented at least here, and we'll need to upgrade this segment at the very least. So we're gonna follow the very same procedure, get the tram tracks in here, flip the direction, remove the shoulder, add in a median. make that 1 meters, yoink, and we'll make the shoulder here a little less wide. Now to actually make this project make a little more sense, we'll need to upgrade the bridge segments here to actually carry dedicated tram tracks. But something I've noticed is I have a separate node here from the actual bridge. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm going to redraw the bridge, at least this node here. Just gonna remove that and probably even remove the bridge to redraw it. But I think before I do that, we're just gonna see just how powerful this is. So if I move into trams, double tram track and upgrade, I can upgrade the bridge to carry the tram tracks. They're obviously not connected in either end, but I should be able to upgrade these ramps here leading to the bridge. So let's see, this is effectively a 3-lane version, although we could do a 2-laner. Maybe that's more fitting, like aesthetically. Alternatively, I disable snapping, and then I do this upgrade here. And then what we're going to do is use the traffic mod to just get rid of this U-turn. But this is a 2-lane segment, that's for sure. So we're just gonna grab our 2-laner and just actually maybe I can just upgrade with snap. No, I'm just gonna manually do it, get the alignment correct. So let's see, I'm just gonna try here. And then we're gonna grab the traffic mod, select this intersection, and I'm gonna disallow this weird not U-turn thing. And I'm gonna disallow these U-turns as well. And let's just take a look. I mean, just look how smooth that looks. I know that the tracks here are probably a little too close. We can use move it to just adjust it a little so that it doesn't look like that. But this is a Cities Skylines revolution unfolding in front of our eyes, I feel. Because this took, what, a couple of minutes. It was super easy, super intuitive, and a lot of fun. Now, as I said, shoulders can cause some graphical issues if you fully remove them. As you guys can see, I've got a bit of a graphical glitch here at the intersection where we go from a 4-laner to a 3+1. And I just discovered that if we grab our 4-lane version here, we select all, edit all, and I add in a small shoulder next to the tram track of 1 meter, then the graphical glitch is all fixed up. Anyways, what you just saw me do was basically redo the bridge here. We've now got 2 pillars and I've aligned it completely or perfectly in height, and I think it looks a lot better with 2 pillars, but it was also a necessity to then redo the connection here. But I think it's looking very, very smooth. Now, of course, we'll need to do the full connection here. So let's go in and upgrade the existing road pieces here so that we add in the tram tracks. And as you can already see, I've got another set of roads here where the road builder mod is really going to come in handy. For starters, I don't think I want the tram tracks here to be on the most left lane here, because that's going to be too tight of a turn here, and I don't really expect to make this connection either way, but that's a different problem altogether. Let's grab the road builder and grab this custom 5-lane asymmetrical setup. We'll just call this light rail. That's not a great naming scheme because it already can carry tram tracks, but whatever. The simple thing here would probably just be to move this to the innermost lane like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I want, I think. Then we're gonna right click and select this piece here, because in this case I want them to follow the most inner lane. So we'll just call it light rail 4-lane road for lack of a better version. And then I don't really want people to walk here, as I think I mentioned before. So I'm just gonna remove the sidewalks here completely and create this very slim segment. And I think I might even do the very same here. I don't need this. I don't want this. I want it to be a sleek setup. And we can always add key walls to either side here, because that's gonna create this barrier that we want. Alternatively, you can add in like a small shoulder to kind of create that look as well. But I think for now we're just gonna keep it fully slim. And then this transition here I can make better with the Anarchy mod using manipulation mode, of course. We've got another troublesome segment here. It's elevated, so I'm having trouble clicking it with the road builder mod, but what we can do is just select it and then move out of town. Just go to this hill here, yank, and then we'll upgrade it with the tram tracks. So the thing is, I want to have a version where they follow the innermost 2 lines as we did before. So I'm just gonna call this, yeah, my imagination is fantastic, light rail 6-lane road. Then we're gonna get these in here. And I'm probably gonna have to remove the sidewalks again, just to see how that actually looks. And now we've got the piece. So now we can easily select this piece and we can upgrade the elevated segment we have in town. So let's see, where is it? It's right about here. Gonna need some manual adjustments, as you guys can probably see, but that isn't really much of a problem. Just gonna create that, and it's a very, very sleek segment, right? Looks great. And I think we're actually gonna do the same to this segment here. Oh, actually, wait, I think we just need to upgrade, right? I just need to select this piece and I just need to upgrade. Yeah. I think in hindsight, I probably made this a little too narrow. I still don't want the shoulders though, because I'm hoping that's going to remove any pedestrians using it. But I might just move in and add in a 2 meter wide median here. And I think I'm gonna do the same with this async version we have. Add that median and then probably switch these 2 around so that the tram tracks are better aligned. And it is starting to look all right now. I think up here, I'm gonna use manipulation mode to see if I can just make the transition, oh yeah, get these off frames much better. There you go. Let's see, grab this node, should do the very same thing. Something like that. Much better transition. And of course, if possible, I want to get rid of any crosswalks or otherwise here, and no traffic signal either. I'm getting some shark tooth here for people to walk, and I don't think I can remove those. I'm trying to remove all the U-turns, but I guess I manually have to just get rid of some of this stuff here. Don't really know why I would allow any of that. It's kind of crazy. But I think that's kind of fixed up, and the transition here is looking a lot more smooth. We've got a segment here as well, which I want to stretch with manipulation mode. You guys can see that the outer 2 points of these are kind of overlapping, creating a very small tight node here. I'm just gonna move this back a little and grab this one and move this back a little, and then you can see I can kind of stretch the node and make the transition a little more seamless. And I think that's kind of important for the feel of realism with the trams here, because obviously they need a bit of space. One thing to really keep in mind though is that as you start stretching these out, it's like you're essentially creating a bigger node, and the actual node is going to be flat. So as you guys can see, I won't have like a super smooth incline here. So you kind of have to just kind of experiment and get the look that you want. I think for most angles, this is going to look better than before. But man, is this starting to look interesting or what? But it's certainly interesting. I don't know how pretty it is, but yeah, it's just so much fun working with this tool. Now, the next cool thing we'll do is I need to I want to detach the tram tracks from the highway segments somewhere around here, because my idea is to have a dedicated tram track go underneath the clover leaf and then emerge over on this side and connect directly to the New Chelsea street layout. And we'll probably be using Road Builder to upgrade some of these roads as well to whatever we see fit. But to do that, I am probably going to have to create a bit more distance between the Riverview Expressway that cuts above here but I can hopefully just leave the I-25 segment here untouched. Maybe bring these nodes a little closer together to make the bridge a little less wide. I'm just checking how wide the standard tram tracks are, and yes, it's not going to be able to fit in here. So I am going to just have to create a little more space between the two segments here of the Riverview Expressway. It should be fairly simple with Move It. Just selecting all the nodes I need is hopefully going to be sufficient. And actually, I don't know why I'm selecting everything. I just need to select one side first, of course, and then bring that down a little, something like that. And then we'll be selecting these segments here and bring them up oh yeah, whoop. There's an additional tricky little node here, all hidden away. And I think something like this is probably going to be sufficient. And then it's all about just making a little alignment here as well. So I've just done a bit of tweaking, actually a lot of tweaking with Move It to get the nodes here kind of aligned so that these segments ends at roughly the same place, because then I'm hopeful that it's going to be easier for me to transition to the combined tram tracks we'll have running underneath here. But I think before I do that, I'm going to lower the ground underneath the I-25 here, because obviously I'll need to do a little digging to get these tram tracks to actually fit. So I think we're gonna grab this contour line, and then I'm just gonna flatten this and see how that works out. So I'm gonna jump into my road service tools here and upgrade this to bridged segments. And we probably don't have enough clearance right now, but I'd rather just start with too little clearance than too much, and then we can always change it. So let's see, I'm upgrading this to a bridge segment as well. And then terraforming wise, I'm going to make this a little smaller, and then we need to connect up here. So let's get rid of at least a few of these row houses. All in the name of progress, a bit of imminent domain, that's good, that's good. And then we're going to right click down here with the slope tool and then bring it from this intersection all the way up here, just to kind of smoothen this transition as much as possible. And we're gonna right click here again, and then we're gonna go from here. Let's see, how much do we have? Almost 4%, so not a lot. And then we're just gonna bring that down here. So this should enable me to place the tram tracks as a start. So I'm just gonna probably move as close to these segments as I can, because I can always move the end node of the tram track here a little further back. And let's just see. So this is actually elevated, as you guys can see, and I don't want that. So what I'm just gonna click, and then I'm going to just lower it ever so slightly into the ground. And then I'm gonna bring it up, because I think we have enough clearance down here. If I disable Anarchy, we don't, but that can also be a little too strict, I find. So for now, I'm going to just try and keep Anarchy on. And click here, and then we can bring that all the way through here, it seems. And hopefully we can get the proper connection. Now I don't want to mess with any pillars here too much, at least. So but it seems I can kind of bypass a few pillars by going this way. But anyways, that's also a detailing thing, so I'll have to fix that a little later, I guess. And then we'll bring it up. We'll make a bit of a bend here so that we can kind of turn into the intersection. And it's potentially a little steep for a light rail or tram network, but I don't think it's too bad. So I'm just gonna pause, remove a tree or two, and then take a little look. So yeah, clearance wise, leaves a little bit to be desired. We just have to lower it ever so slightly. It's not like, actually we do have pillars sticking through, never mind. And then I'll have to fix up this pillar here, but let's just see if I can. I'm just gonna see if I can find the nodes down here. Okay, so there's a node at the very bottom here, which is perfect. That should allow me to just bring this pillar down here. And I just wanted to not show, there we go. It can clip into the like concrete base of the road. I don't really mind. It's not that important. I just don't want it poking through. And we're just gonna check how this looks. This actually looks all right. We'll probably need to do a bit of adjustment of this segment here and this segment here just to get it to be a smoother transition. There you go. And then I think I'll have to upgrade to a few key walls here. Otherwise this is going to look a little too sharp. And then the moment of truth is whether I'll be able to actually get a good connection going here. Yeah, it might get a bit finicky, but I'm gonna give it a little go with a complex curve in either a is it too finicky? It's certainly finicky. Oh, that one actually worked, but I'm betting I guess I have to be careful not to just crash the game by now. I may have to bring this a bit further up actually. Let's see if I can just select it. I can. And then bring it all the way up here. But I may need just a bit more space in between here. This might be a little too tight of a fit. But I'm just gonna try just to see, you know, how far we are off target. Yeah, a bit too far. So move it comes to the rescue again. We've got some nodes right here, fortunately. So if I just do a bit of alignment and a bit of alignment down here, then I think this is going to be sufficient. We'll bring this back a little bit once more. And we can always tweak with manipulation mode to get it looking how we want. But I bet it's these key walls here that might also be causing some issues. So I'm just gonna remove these. See if this is gonna work out a little better. It absolutely is. So I think the key walls are definitely contributing slightly to the issue here. So we've actually got a connection. It's not exactly perfect, but it works. If I am fortunate, I can just bring this whole segment back. Can I get rid of these trees? Thank you very much. And I'll be able to use manipulation mode just to make it as smooth a transition as possible. And after a ton of additional move it tweaking and adding some keys, we are finally getting there, and this is really turning out quite special and nice. And there's a bit of a mismatch you see here, but that's because this is the regular one-way tramway segment, which has a bigger shoulder on this side than the highway segment we built here has. So that's why we're seeing a bit of a little mismatch, which I might fix later, but it's not as important for now. Right now, I just need to take a little tour and see how this looks. I'm not gonna completely go into fixing every little incline or decline that is too sharp, because I want to move on to actually connect and get a tram line. But we're gonna use the first-person camera here to take a good little look. And yeah, it's some pretty cool views of the Riverview skyline we've got here as you enter the city through this tram or light rail. And it actually seems like the incline and decline is just fine, like percentage wise it isn't too bad. So we're just gonna continue moving through here. That is so nice. It's a little wonky in the connection here, and there's a dude walking out. Ah, come on. Very nice. I am going to call it on the micro adjustments for now and switch gears into actually completing this tram line here. So we're intersecting with Coleridge Street and Hemlock Street, and I know it's gonna be a bit heresy in a road builder episode, but I'm just gonna vanilla upgrade this to a tram segment so that we can get through the street here. I think it's quite fitting for this scenario. And then what I'd like to have is the tram road to kind of cut through this open space here. I've just removed the paths. It used to be a recreational area. Now it's nothing. So I just want the tram line to go through Chelsea Boulevard's center here. And I have to be careful with the elevation here because there's quite a bit of differences here actually, but I'm hopeful we can manage. I want to use the pedestrian street. Now the vanilla one is upgradable with trams, but I think you can already see the problem here. It's just too wide, so I'll need to create a custom version with a road builder. Let's just move out here where you can see I've already done a bit of mad scientist work, and we'll just add an ordinary piece here. Maybe upgrade it just to see how it looks in its vanilla shape. So it looks all right, it's just way too wide basically. We'll open a road builder to do our triggery here, and we'll just say narrow pedestrian street. Yeah, I think that should be fine. And then what I want to do is I want to get rid of these car lanes here. Don't need those. And then I'm gonna bring some tram in here. Let's see, I think I'll get rid of this median as well, and maybe one of the... Actually, let's just try and move this over here and get another tram track in. And I have to see the direction. It's actually, it looks right. Then there's the shoulder here. If I remove that, it becomes a little narrower, but I might run into issues if I remove the shoulder. So maybe I'm just gonna remove one of the pedestrianized paths. And that leaves us with this setup here, which I kind of like. It's a bit like async. But I think that might just do it. So we're gonna say place more, and then we're gonna move back into the heart of New Chelsea here. And I think I want to stop on this central segment here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make sure I don't have any snapping on. And then we're gonna move all the way out here. And I'm just going to bring this segment through to right about here, I think. And the reason I made it async is not only does it allow me to make it a little more narrow, but it's also going to help me with the turn we're having here. It doesn't have to be as sharp because the trams don't have to center on this place here. At least that's my idea of it. Let's see how that works practically. So I can actually get the connection going. There's a 7.8% slope, which is probably a little much, but I mean, I guess we can just kind of move it out of this. So it actually doesn't look too bad. Oh, I'm selecting a tree. Well, never mind. Where is the actual node? No, that's another tree. This has to be the node then. And I can just increase the height ever so slightly, and this middle segment as well, just to make the slope a little smoother. Now we'll just need to wrap it up with like an end segment down here, because it's gonna complain about the track not connected. Now I have experimented with using the one-way track to end it, and then just adding in the stop to create this, and that works. For some reason, adding a stop to this final 1-lane segment is going to add a crossing here so that the trams can actually terminate. And of course, we're not going to use that stop. That's basically just to, enable us to terminate down here. So I think we're just going to place the stop right here in the very center. And then we'll just need to connect up the tram line to Riverview, because we won't have any stops in between. This is just a direct line. And now I have to think about where to stop in here, and this is a mess I'll need to fix in just a second. I think I'm gonna pause before the city grinds to a halt. Let's just stop at 15 Birdsong Street here at our transit hub and get it connected as a start. I'll need to add a waypoint. I think that's fine. And complete the route. So it seems I've got a bit of work cut out for me here at the transit hub before I hit play, because I really don't want to add additional trams to the network when this looks like this mess. One thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to disallow buses using this route here, because that's just, it's really not working. So I'm going to be removing bus accessibility to this lane here. I'm gonna remove this connection, I'm gonna remove this connection, and then we're essentially forcing the buses to go around instead. And then another change I want to make is allocate a few more of the tram lines to have a stop here instead of utilizing this one, because we now have the blue line stopping here, we have the this new line we just created, and we have the red line stopping there as well. So that's just a little much, because they're all trying to like do a quick reverse here as soon as they enter here, which really isn't gonna work. So I'm just we're gonna remove the stop for the blue line first, and then bring the red line over here. And then this one already has a stop. It's the new one we just created, and that's probably fine. So I'll just see if I can reconnect the blue line, and hopefully that's gonna help clear up this mess. Now things have actually started to clear out. There's a ton of people here though, so I've just created a quick little underpath and made this into a bridge segment so that people can go underneath. Hopefully that's going to be the preferred way, because this is causing quite the traffic jam. But it's looking better. It was very terrible. Now, if I'm not mistaken, we are actually seeing the first tram here out on the new line. So we better actually get some naming going. Let's see, we've got the blue line, red line. We are gonna go for the RTA white line express. Is white actually what we're going for? Maybe we're going for like we're going for a green line instead. And actually, wait, we do have an express scheme, so that's an E after the yeah, but we don't actually have, so I'll just say E. That's gonna cut it for now. I think we're going to have, let's start with 2 vehicles and see how that's gonna pan out. Oh, and I have to make it green, obviously. So we'll go for like a light green-ish color here. Just gonna try this one. And that seems pretty fitting. But I mean, we should maybe just get on board actually. So we're leaving Riverview behind and moving on to New Chelsea. And pretty smooth sailing, no issues with the elevation changes here. So that's wonderful to see. Now there are a couple of things I need to fix. One of them being people actually walking here. I'm hopeful that if I remove the shoulders, maybe that is going to discourage people from walking here. So what I'm just going to try is I'll try and just add in an extra node here, because then I'm gonna try and use the road builder to just upgrade the segment down here, and let's just say no shoulder double tram track and get rid of these. Now they're not gonna carry any catenaries, but I think that's fine because this is underneath the interstate. I don't think anyone is gonna notice. But it's going to be interesting to see if people can actually still walk here, because obviously then this didn't work. Now, since we are on the topic of shoulders and catenaries, I guess you can kind of see the issue here, like besides people walking into their own doom on the middle of the road. But basically I don't have any catenaries attached to these roads, and that's not due to like the road builder having an issue. It's because I haven't selected it in the shoulders on either side. So I'm just gonna be adding that here to the light rail 4 lane. Also, we're gonna bring the speed down as we wanted to maybe 100. And now we've got catenaries with electrical wiring. All fixed up, catenaries everywhere, at least for the highway segments, because if we move over here, yeah, I've got sort of the same issue. I don't have any shoulders attached to these roads here. Let's see if this is the 4 lane segment, right? It is. So the catenaries really aren't anywhere to be seen, and we probably need them. So I'm just gonna add shoulders to all of this and this segment as well, but we're starting here. And we'll of course need to add it here as well to the async road, and I cannot select it because it's elevated, so we're just gonna lower it, or not lower it, just make it not be a bridge, and it actually already has the shoulders, it just needs a little upgrading. Perfect, and bring it back to a bridge height so that people can walk underneath without any issues. And then we've got a segment here as well, which also needs to have catenaries enabled. Now this one I cannot upgrade because it's elevated, and I can't remove it, or rather I can't downgrade it, so it's not elevated. So we're just gonna bring it out here, edit all instances, and then we're gonna get our shoulders in place and just add 1 and a 2. And I shouldn't have to upgrade with this segment because I said edit all instances, but we're just gonna move back and check. Nope, everything seems to be perfectly fine. Now I've actually got an idea for a little more road builder magic, because when it comes to creating like tram stations, I prefer actually just using a regular 2-lane road, upgrading it with tram segments, because then when I add a stop, it adds the sidewalk, and I'm able to update the opposite side with a, like in this case, with like a grassy area. But of course the main annoyance here is that it still allows for car traffic. Now there is no car traffic here because it can't really get anywhere, but it's still looking kind of weird. So I think I'm gonna try and change this. So we're gonna grab this road here, which is the regular 2-lane road. And then let's move up to the playground here. Just gonna place this, and we'll be upgrading it with the double tram tracks, of course. Making this upgrade, and then we'll open road builder, select it, and I guess I'll be calling it a what is this called? These are the sidewalks. So double tram track sidewalk, just naming it. And then we'll grab the tram tracks and get those added in either direction, and we'll remove the multi-use tracks here. And there we go. It's basically tram dedicated now, but with sidewalks, and I mean parking enabled, but cars wouldn't actually be able to get here. But I think that's fine. Let's just grab it and say place more, and move all the way back to the transit hub so that we can upgrade these 2 segments here. And I enable Anarchy, upgrade, upgrade. And I'll probably want to upgrade this segment as well, but I think this is actually like a dedicated tram track, so I guess I'll just have to delete the segment here, and then we'll just grab it and expand it. See if I can find the right place. Yep, 180 degrees, yank. So that auto adds the station. Wait, it doesn't. I have to. Tram stop, get that added here, and then on the opposite side where we have parking that is unusable, we'll add in the grass element. That is very nice, and it's kind of flush with the layout we have over here as well. So since the trams actually use this to reverse, I am just gonna go into manipulation mode and grab these nodes here and just try to make this transition a little more smooth. And as a final change, of course, I need to make sure that the blue line, which actually uses this stop, as well as the red line, if I can just select it, there it is actually connected so that we don't run into any issues. It also seems that the pedestrian underpath here is very efficient, as effectively no one is really crossing here anymore, which is really nice to see. Oh man, things are still super chaotic in here. And it seems like one of the issues definitely is that the buses are having a hard time actually exiting through this junction here now that they cannot overlap with the trams anymore. So we're gonna see if the road builder might be able to help us out here. This is a 1-lane, 1-direction road. I'm gonna upgrade it to a 2-lane, 1-direction road, as well as this segment here. Oh, and the buses are all doing a little dance. Although this highlights a limitation, because the 2 lanes of the 2-lane one-way road aren't both upgradable to BRT lanes or bus lanes only. Only one of them is, but obviously we can easily fix that. So I'm just gonna name it so I remember it. I'm just gonna call it bus 2-lane one-way road, and then we'll upgrade this like that. And that's pretty much it. Well, actually, I mean, we could make the sidewalk a little narrower in one of the directions here on this side of the road, because that's just gonna make the whole road a little narrower, which I think would be fitting, because I don't want to realign all the props I used for the bus stops and whatnot. So we've just made that a little smaller, and then I should be able to relatively easily upgrade all this stuff here and bring that out to this road. Now this is still gonna be a bit of a bottleneck because we've still only got one road in either direction here, and I think I would like an additional bus lane to actually leave here. So let's grab the road builder and see. This is the custom double public transportation road. I'm just gonna say 2+1, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna get another bus lane in here, and I am just gonna flip the direction like that so that we can allow for more buses to actually exit here, which I'm hopeful is gonna be a good solution. Now this intersection is getting ever more crazy with this change, so I'm just gonna try and use manipulation mode to see if I can just make it even bigger. And it seems I can. We'll do the same thing over here. It's becoming quite the massive, dangerous crossing, but kind of realistic, I guess. Now, for this to really work out, there's still one thing I'm missing, and that is I need to allow the buses to actually cross onto the other lane here to use that. So I'm just gonna select these small segments here with the traffic mod. Let's see, we've got a segment here as well, and then I'll just need to allow them to actually make this crossing, and then I'm hopeful that some of these yellow buses, for instance, are going to cross out onto this road here, because they are done as soon as they have made their, stop right here. So they don't have to stay on this lane and interfere with all the other buses here. That's not the plan, at least. The plan is to find a solution to that. So let's just try and make this setup, and the moment of truth is whether we can get some of the buses out there on. We can. Perfect. So that definitely seemed to help and really put a good shove into the movement here. But man, we've got so many buses bundled up at the moment. I mean, at least the tram network is going pretty smoothly, but we are actually seeing some clearance now. But the amount of people waiting here is, I think this is the RTA 7, the massive line we created recently, which is just, yeah, it's 100% usage, almost 2,000 passengers. That is insane. So obviously we are gonna have to assign a handful of additional vehicles to try and meet this demand. Which should be interesting to see if they can actually fit within the transit hub here, because it's a little chaotic right now. It kind of feels like every time I try to fix something, I create another problem. Remember how I turned this into a dedicated tram road so that no buses can actually utilize it to enter to and from the transit hub? Well, naturally, that has brought more bus traffic out here on Sycamore Street, as at least a couple of lines use this now to enter the transit hub. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna need a dedicated bus line and tram line here. So I'm gonna change this with the road builder for two reasons. So one is that the vanilla upgradable tram segment here, as you guys can see, it follows the outermost lane here, which means that the trams will make a left turn here where they essentially cross in front of these two tracks here, which it's a little dangerous. It doesn't really work all that well. So one change I'd like to make is make a custom version of this 3+2 road where we have the dedicated tram track in this middle lane instead. And we also allow that to be upgraded to a bus only lanes, or a BRT lane basically. Because another issue with this road is that if we move into our road tools here and we try to upgrade, then obviously it's going to be what is currently the tram lane that we can make a dedicated bus lane, and that's just going to cause the same issue. The buses will have to turn left in front of other traffic here. So a road builder to the rescue once more. I am just gonna call this, let's see, middle transport 5 lane something. That's my best bet right now, at least. I'm gonna pause. Can I pause the game? Yes, please. I'm gonna pause the game here, and then we're gonna turn this lane into a transport lane right here in the middle, and we're going to remove these. There you go. This should be upgradable so that buses can use it as well, so that only buses, taxis and trams, of course, can use it, which is exactly what I want. So I think that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple change, but I'm gonna test if this doesn't work out a little better. I would really expect it to. Now this did reset my configuration here, so I am just going to disallow these U-turns and weird left turns onto the pedestrian road. And I'm not gonna allow for a right turn here either. I don't want this to be an intersection. Now the moment of truth is whether I can upgrade. I can, and bring this all the way around. So that is perfect. I'm hopeful this is going to help the traffic move through this space a little easier, because it's turned into a real chaos ever since I made my changes to this road. Things are starting to clear out. I've said that 6 times now, so yeah, those words don't carry much weight, but I think things are starting to clear out. But I think there's an additional change we can make, because this stop here with this blue line is completely overloaded. And let's just have a look to see what line this actually is. So this is the RTA 8 Express, so that is the direct line to the Technical University far out in the suburbs. And it's just seeing too many passengers, so I kind of want to move the stop down here actually. Let's see, I'm just gonna bulldoze this stop here and change it to this area. Now the thing is, the recent Bedford Street, or at least this segment of it, I don't know why this is 1 unit, whatever, is a regular road that allows for vehicle traffic, is that I have to allow for parking in here as part of the central station. Also, we have access to the highways and other parts of the city here, so that's something I want to keep. But I would also like a dedicated BRT or bus lane for the buses that are going to be stopping here, which is namely going to be the 8E line for now at least. Now here's another issue that we can solve with the road builder mod. Let's say I upgrade to this 2+1 here, because I want to have a dedicated bus line. I mean, we can do that. This would work. The thing I'm kind of missing is the actual bay, you know, for the bus to park in, the actual dedicated stop, because I just think that's such a nice little detail. But of course we can add that now with the road builder. So let's just see, we're gonna say, I'm just gonna call it BRT. I mean, that's, yeah, lack of a better naming, I'm gonna go for that. Anyways, what we're gonna be changing up here is basically just we're gonna change up the width of the sidewalk here, because if we go to 5 and enable parking, then we get the actual bay for the bus stop, which is perfect. Now, this also makes this road quite wide, and we don't really need that because I don't expect us to also have stops lined in this direction. We can't accommodate that many buses. That should be obvious by now, I guess. So I think I'm gonna remove the sidewalk, but that also makes this feel a little empty. So maybe if we try and grab a median and get that placed, a width of 2. Yeah, I think 2 is probably fitting. We're gonna try this, and let's just say place more, add a couple of additional ones. We'll just remove this segment here because we only have a crossing here now. And that looks pretty good, and fully custom once more. So let's just see if I can reliably move the blue line down here. I should be able to just move it down here because it leaves through the highway network. So it's a relatively simple pass through in here. I am seeing a bit of clipping here in the textures, so I think that's because I've used the median here. So maybe I'm just gonna go completely without it actually, and then we'll just be bringing this surface real close here instead. But we're still seeing an issue over here, so maybe we should just play it safe with an actual sidewalk. I can make it as narrow as possible, which is 3.5, but at least we're not having any clipping issues then. And I think that looks just fine. But it would seem that the blue line is going to need a little help, maybe through a... Oh, wait, I know what the issue is. You can't actually enter this one properly from here. There you go. I think with this configuration, then the blue line is not gonna have any issues. So that's something to also always be a little careful about, how these buses will actually use these roads if I am not careful in the configuration of each individual lane. Anyways, I'm of course hopeful that this is going to clear up this mess here, because when this gets really busy, people are just standing on the actual sidewalk, or the crossing here, which is obviously making it a bit hard for the buses to get through. Okay, let's turn our attention away from this mess for just a second. I'm gonna go over here and see if there's actually any activity. And I mean, people can walk here, but yeah, I mean, nobody's actually traveling on the line. So I'm starting to wonder if I made some kind of mistake here, if I messed something up. I mean, I guess I can try making it free to use, see if that is actually going to do anything. Alternatively, I'm going to try maybe add a stop here at Hemlock Street, which I think is also a decent idea. I mean, the distance isn't all that great, but I guess I could add a stop here in the, westbound direction as it moves towards Riverview. And why not a bit of road builder as well, because, thank you very much, because if I just add a stop, it's just going to incorporate what is right now parking, and then add a stop, and the tram is then going to essentially stop in the middle of the road. Which is likely going to cause a traffic jam. It might not, because it's not a busy area, but I guess you get my point, right? So what I would like to do is maybe actually add, let's see, we've got a couple of these lanes. So if I add one more of these and we just flip these around, and the sidewalk doesn't have to be very wide because it's just going to have a stop. Yeah, I think this would be, I mean, we could make it an actual dedicated tram track so that the cars can't use it at all. Let's just see how that looks. That might be even better because it's not like we've got a ton of vehicle traffic here, so we might as well just have completely dedicated. And I just need to make sure, of course, that we have, do we have some, yeah, we have catenaries. That's good because we have sidewalks, I guess. So should we add like a small median to kind of separate it? A medium with a width of just 1. This actually looks pretty good. I think we're gonna go for this. So what are we gonna call it? Oh boy. Light rail. It's not a 2+1, so yeah, we're gonna go for this. I guess it would be a good idea to actually lay down a proper naming scheme as you start creating all these custom roads with the road builder tool, but that's gonna be another day. Anyways, I'm still able to add the stop here just like I wanted to, so that's absolutely perfect. And oh wait, I'm seeing a bit of an issue here. What just happened to my tram route and why? I'm gonna try and connect it over here. Maybe I messed it up over here actually at some point. Anyways, I think that should work. We're just gonna check to make sure it didn't actually mess anything up. We've got to stop here, right? Come on. Yeah, it's working fine. Now, if I don't get any passengers waiting here, then maybe the tram line is bugged out. Let's check down here again. Oh, wait, are these actually people waiting? Oh, we're online. I don't know what I did, but it seems to be fixed now, or maybe it just took a little while for the game to really register the line. But it seems to be working now, and we'll actually have some passengers, which is fabulous. And we're actually seeing a ton of people here now, which is great. I was honestly getting a little worried because either the tram line was bugged out or all the people that I was so certain I had seen commute back and forth between the two cities maybe just didn't, or they weren't interested in using the tram at least. Now I guess it should be said that the bus line is actually rather popular, but it seems like the tram line has stolen a bit of the traffic here, but it should be a quicker, more direct route because the buses, as you can see and as I explained in the early parts of the video, actually has to go through the industrial area here. Now I'm seeing an issue with the buses entering the dedicated bus lane rather late here on Sycamore Street, right before they turn left. And I imagine it's because they couldn't do it before because there was no node here. This was just one long segment. So I've just grabbed the road and then I've just double clicked here to add an additional node, as you might be able to see with this weird clipping. Because what this allows me to do is to select this intersection, or node rather. It's a stretched node now because I used manipulation mode, would move it to just stretch it a bit. But this allows me to configure the road in such a way that they can actually make a proper lane change here. At least I imagine they couldn't do before for whatever reason, and that was why they were having issues. Although now I've got two buses that are entering perfectly. So yeah, I don't know, maybe things just need to kind of settle a bit when I do all these network changes, but for the 7th time, things are starting to clear out. And I think with things clearing up, it's time for me to wrap up this episode. It has been a ton of fun implementing the road builder here in Riverview, and there are probably a ton of mistakes I made and so many more things you can do with it. I only got early access yesterday actually, so I'm still really green behind the ears when using it, which also means that when it actually releases to everyone on the 9th of August, I am so excited to see what you guys are gonna come up with. I imagine the subreddit is going to be flooded with cool creative use cases and creations with this mod, so really exciting times ahead. With that said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, all the support and all the feedback. I'll be shooting some cinematics of these new creations here, and of course I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.